In a year riddled with cinematic disappointments, several anticipated blockbusters have failed to ignite the 2023 box office, casting a shadow over Hollywood's storied franchises. Starting with Elemental, Disney and Pixar's latest offering presents a film that, while profitable, didn't quite live up to the monumental expectations set by its predecessors, generating just 1.6 times its production budget despite being the 12th highest-grossing movie of the year. The animation giant's reputation for churning out hit after hit set a bar that Elemental couldn't quite reach, leaving audiences and critics with a sense of underwhelmment despite its financial gains. Personally, I can't help but feel that Pixar might be running dry on creative ideas, and Elemental reflects this sentiment, with its thematic elements not quite sparking the same magic as previous Pixar films. On the flip side, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves truly captivated me as a viewer with its delightful and adventurous spirit. It accumulated 1.4 times its production budget of $150 million. This underrated gem provided a thoroughly enjoyable fantasy epic that avoided the cringeworthy humor plaguing so many modern franchises.
So you make plans that fail?
No.
He also plays the lute.
Not relevant.
While mainstream audiences unfortunately failed to turn out for this critically acclaimed film, I found it to be the standout highlight of 2023's cinematic landscape thus far. As a fantasy fan, I was overjoyed to see such a respectful and magical adaptation brought to life on the big screen. The filmmakers clearly approached the material with reverence and passion. The Flash was one of the most hyped up and controversial movies coming into the 2023 box office, but failed to generate anywhere close to its box office expectations. The Flash is the DC Extended Universe's latest misfire with audiences after a number of failed attempts to create a superhero franchise of the same caliber as Marvel. Ultimately, the film was only able to generate just 1.3 times its expensive budget of $2 million. In my opinion, the CGI was a significant letdown. It was so subpar it felt reminiscent of a PlayStation 2-era 3D game and gave the impression of being an unfinished work. The movie itself felt rushed, and the excuses made by the producer were the cherry on top of a disappointing release. The Adam Driver-led 65 failed to capture enough attention from audiences after its release in early March 2023. The sci-fi epic in which Driver battles dinosaurs on a foreign planet somehow became a box office bomb despite its intriguing and unique premise, only generating 1.2 times its budget of $45 million. For what it's worth, it is currently the 33rd most profitable theatrical release of 2023. To be frank, it had the potential to be a great idea, but it ended up being a massive flop, critically owning to its disastrous quality. Shazam! Fury of Gods was one of the first Hollywood movies of the year expected to set the tone of the 2023 box office. Unfortunately for both the film and for Hollywood, Shazam! Fury of the Gods failed to inspire early confidence. The original Shazam movie generated nearly $370 million at the global box office from a $90 million budget, an impressive feat that the sequel didn't come close to accomplishing with a box office revenue of $132 million from a $125 million budget. Magic Mike's Last Dance had intended to send off the formerly successful franchise with a bang, but turned out to be one of the worst flops of 2023. The comedy sequel hardly earned a profit higher than its production budget of $45 million, making it the lowest-grossing installment of the entire franchise. The original Magic Mike made an astounding $170.5 million at the 2012 box office from a measly $7 million budget, while the 2015 sequel made more than 7 times its budget of $14.5 million. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is another 2023 critically acclaimed film that is also a major box office bomb. The thoughtful coming-of-age story made less than $22 million at the global box office despite its budget of $30 million. Coming-of-age movies have increasingly become a genre left behind in the 2010s, and the lackluster performance of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret might help keep it that way. One of the most abysmal box office performances so far in 2023 is Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, which just barely made half of what it cost at the global box office. Despite the film's ensemble cast featuring Aubrey Plaza, Jason Statham, Hugh Grant, and Josh Hartnett being directed by Guy Ritchie, the film simply produced little appeal to attract people to theaters. Operation Fortune Roost-Guerre made $27.5 million with a $50 million budget. Another 2023 Guy Ritchie movie that flopped even harder is The Covenant. Not even Jake Gyllenhaal could prevent the box office bomb from dropping, which made just more than $20 million with a budget of $55 million. Even though Ritchie went outside his typical MO to create a war drama, the rare genre switch couldn't deliver at the box office, ultimately forcing Ritchie to take two major losses at the relentless 2023 box office. Expectations for Renfield were uncertain from the start, with its lofty budget of over $86 million, which wasn't nearly enough to generate even a glimmer of success at the 2023 box office. The Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult duo had a tough time competing against the likes of the Super Mario Bros. Earlier this year, despite having mixed reviews, which could have further discouraged audiences from seeing Renfield in theaters. One of the most divisive and utterly confusing movies of the year was instantly Beau is Afraid, despite its April 2023 release date. Horror author Ari Aster took many creative liberties and leaps with his anxiety-fueled movie that failed to generate a recognizable plot, let alone any financial return at the box office. The movie, which only cost $35 million to make, barely raked in more than $10 million at the box office, marking a very unfortunate sign for the state of modern avant-garde filming. Killers of the Flower Moon has somewhat put an end to its career at the box office with a budget of $2 million and only $157 million in revenue. Once again, it's a prestige film designed for awards, which Apple produced to have a film by Martin Scorsese on its platform. The film was released on VOD, so the flop is not very serious in itself. It wasn't intended to achieve commercial success, so it's normal that it flopped. It's unfortunate, yes, but a $2 million film lasting 3 hours and 40 minutes is not surprising. It's sad, but it's not surprising. Napoleon, similarly, the film flopped with a budget of $2 million. It is still being distributed, but it won't reach $2 million. Currently, during filming, it has earned $137 million. Once again, it's for prestige. The goal being to have a film by Ridley Scott on Apple TV Plus platform and to seek awards, even if honestly, they probably won't succeed. Potentially, the biggest flop of the year is Marvel's. With a budget of $274 million, if I'm not mistaken, it depends on the subsidies and what Disney has spent or not. In short, let's say we were at $274 million for a 1 hour and 40-minute film that is nearing the end of its box office run and has only brought in $200 million. It's the worst film in the history of the MCU box office. Realize how much of a failure it is. As for Wish, it's also a failure for now. We'll see if it holds up over time, but in my opinion, the film won't succeed in the long run. With a budget of $200 million and currently only $87 million at the box office, I don't expect it to achieve great success. However, Disney has the advantage of having streaming and other benefits that can prolong the film's lifespan. But we'll see. And the biggest flop of all major movies thus far at the 2023 box office is Big George Foreman. The part sports biopic, part religious movie was made with a modest budget of $32 million and brought in an uninspired $5.7 million at the global box office. The movie marks a severe low point in an overall disappointing year for Hollywood, who are likely already trying to forget the numerous 2023 box office bombs that are starting to define the year in movies. What's the verdict for this year? It stands as one of the most challenging periods for the US box office. The task of recapturing the enchantment of cinema seems more crucial and difficult than ever. In their efforts to adapt aging formulas for a new era, studios face a 2023 with no simple solutions, only high stakes, and an uncertain trajectory ahead.